So glad you decided to join us once again on the Only Women Entrepreneurs podcast, fondly known as the O Podcast. I'm your host, Rosemary Cescolini, former high school teacher who completely changed my life to become a successful entrepreneur who revolutionized a male-dominated industry. I worked at Royal Door Limited for over 30 years, designing and crafting custom handmade doors for thousands of people from the Pacific to the Atlantic and everything in between. Our products are featured in home renovation and construction magazines, TV renovation shows, as well as various Netflix series. Now, I run O, where we explore incredible women who have chartered their own course in life and broken all the barriers around them. Join me as we hear their stories and uncover the lessons they've learned as they redefine the world around them. On today's episode of the O Podcast, I have a very special guest. We would like to welcome Dr. Cheryl Wood, an international motivational speaker, best-selling author, and master speaker and development coach for women. Join us as we examine her journey of empowering women to courageously share their unique voices, stories, and expertise. I found out about Dr. Cheryl from the Midlife Conversations podcast hosted by Natalie Jill. I invited her to come onto the show because I believe she is an invaluable resource to all women out there to help express themselves through the power of public speaking or advocating for their career journeys. Hello, Dr. Cheryl, and again, welcome to the O Podcast.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with your amazing community.
Thank you so much again. So let's get started. Dr. Cheryl, your journey from a successful entrepreneur to an international motivational speaker is truly inspiring. What defining moments led you to transition into powering women through public speaking?
I always say public speaking and this whole journey of empowering other women to really amplify their voices found me. I didn't find it. But it found me because I was in motion towards something greater. So I found myself at the time back in 2009, I was still working a full-time corporate job and it was paying the bills, but it really wasn't nurturing my spirit and who I am as a person. It wasn't really positioning me to create what I felt was going to be legacy, which would long outlive my physical body. And so I was really in search of something more, something greater. I was in search of purpose. And I got started just kind of getting my big toe wet as an entrepreneur with a t-shirt business because it was the closest thing to what I felt could really reflect what my values and my beliefs and my principles were at that time, which for me was about all things motherhood. So I called my t-shirt business Moms Are the Best. And I would go out to these different events and I would set up my table and put out all these t-shirts and hope that at least one mom would come and buy a t-shirt. And it was in the course of that, over 18 months, while still working my full-time job, I thought I was failing miserably because I oftentimes did not generate the level of money that I thought I should be making at those events. And so I came home a lot of times feeling a little discouraged, but there was something inside of me that just wouldn't give up. Like I just have this tenacity about my spirit where I'm like, you know what? It didn't go well last time, but I'm going to try again. And I'm going to try again. And I'm kind of almost like a glutton for punishment, it felt like. But I didn't realize how well that was serving me until, of course, when I fast forward and I look back in hindsight. But it was that little itty bitty t-shirt business that I did as a side hustle while I was working a full-time job that detoured me. I like to say it divinely detoured me into a space where I was really meant to be, which was speaking. So I get a phone call one day from someone at a local university, Morgan State University up in Baltimore, Maryland. And they had heard about the t-shirt business. And they invited me to come in and speak at their women's conference where they were going to have upwards of 300 women from all across the country attending. And I thought they had dialed the wrong number because I wasn't a speaker. I didn't see that in my trajectory of who I was becoming as an entrepreneur. But I said yes. I was terrified, but I said yes to the opportunity to come and speak about starting your own business as a woman and as a mom. And that was September 18th, 2010. I remember it like it was yesterday. My palms were sweaty. My heart was racing like it was about to jump out of my chest. And then I was in the moment regretting saying yes. I'm like, why didn't I just say no? I'm not equipped for this. I'm not qualified. And I just got out of my own way, gave the yes, got up to the front of the room, poured out my heart, shared my authentic truth. And guess what? It was enough. And it
Right.
was in that moment that I realized I am enough just as I am to share my story with other women, to empower them, to inspire them. And this is what I want to do the rest of my life because I want to make other people feel this way for the rest of my life.
Right. And you know what? You answered your call. And that's how a lot of women start their entrepreneurial journey, similar to myself. I always had that burning passion of starting my own business, but my parents were immigrants from Italy and they only had a grade 5 education. So they only worked blue collar jobs and it was really hard for them. They got pushed around a lot and abused. And they told me, you know what, go to school, get a good education, and be able to vocalize and express yourself and go after your goals, right? And that was something that resonated with me throughout the years. They did, though, tell me you should get a job that's kind of secure. And that's why I went into the education. And I wasn't very happy about it because I wasn't able to find my voice. I wasn't able to express myself because I want to be a person that can express genuine experiences and conversations with young minds. Because I saw myself as a Da Vinci, where I am going to nurture and cultivate young minds, but I wasn't given that ability. So, it really, really hurt being, turned away from that. But with this O initiative, I'm ecstatic because I've got a new path, a new course where I have the ability, a powerful ability worldwide, where I can send a strong message to all the women worldwide that no matter where you are and what place you are in life, you can do it.
And you know what? We can tell that it's your calling. You and I have just connected, but I can tell it's your calling because there's like this switch that just literally just happened. It is a switch that came on when you started talking about, it's a different energy that exudes from you. And that's what every woman deserves to experience. That thing that just, it ignites your soul. It makes you feel alive and other people feel that energy because it is the thing that you're calling and your purpose. So we can feel it just in that statement where you talked about the initial story of what you were doing. And then you talked about, it's a different energy that exudes from you. So I love that you're walking in this path boldly and then challenging and empowering other women to do the same.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Especially from a person of your caliber, that's an incredible boost in confidence. So as a master speaker development coach for women, what motivated you to focus on equipping women with the tools and confidence to share their unique voices and stories?
I found that so many women, myself included, we were doing a few things. Number one, we were not amplifying and unleashing the impact of our voices because of fear. Mm-hmm. Number two, many of us were standing in a space of imposter syndrome and therefore staying silent about things that matter to us, that are important to us, when really it's not even about you. It's about who you can serve with your experiences and your story. And I found that there were, thirdly, a lot of women who were not self-advocating. And so again, it was this idea of, wow, there are so many women who are so powerful. Their stories need to be heard. Their experiences need to be shared, and they need to step up and advocate for themselves for where they want to be and what they want to accomplish in the world. And if I have a gift of being able to pull that out of a woman, how dare I keep that to myself, right? All of us get one chance at this thing called life. We get one chance to make it as juicy as we possibly can. But I believe the juiciness of our lives comes from how much we help others. So when I realized after that speaking engagement in 2010 that I had a special talent and gifting for being able to inspire women, empower them, pull out of them this boldness, this courage, and this confidence to stand up and say, this is my story, this is my truth, this is my past, and I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to share it so that I bless more lives. Then who am I to say no to that gifting and that calling? And I just set out on a path to share my voice as often as possible, on as many platforms as possible, as globally as I possibly could. And so I believe that sharing my story, sharing my voice, helping other women to pull out their stories, that's going to be my living legacy. And that will be the legacy even when I'm no longer physically here. So for me, it was seeing a need and being willing to step into the shoes of helping to fill that need for women on a worldwide basis.
You nailed the exact sentiments that I thought about when I was going to start up the podcast. As I was ready for retirement, honestly speaking. I had a great career. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I could have been somewhere, by a beach house and enjoyed the rest of the days looking at the sunsets. But then I really thought, man, I'm really selfish. How can I retire and not share my joy of what I did my whole life without women? Well, I thought I couldn't do it. So that's what really pushed me to actually get this project going and started. And again, wherever I reach out to, whoever I speak to, it doesn't matter what level of life they are in, everybody is so helpful and they want to help with this initiative. And it's so inspiring. And I'm hoping that while our listeners are listening in, tuning in, that they get inspired as well to continue to do what we're doing and that we stay as a community, because that's the big game changer for us worldwide.
You touched my heart with that story. Like really, I am fighting back tears because we are just so much in alignment with the idea of I don't have the luxury of sitting still and just it's one thing to be in gratitude, but it's a completely different thing to be in gratitude enough that it moves you to share what you know with others so that they can experience a level of joy that you have discovered in your own life. Like that is a level of selflessness that more women need to tap into. And hearing you share that story of, I was going to go into retirement, I was going to just watch these sunrises. You still get to do that, but your legacy is not done yet. Your impact in the world was not done yet. And therefore you were led here to this platform. And the beautiful thing about this platform, if I may, is you never know who's listening and who's hearing the right message at the right time. Like, I think we all can agree that life, especially nowadays, is very different. And people are feeling hopeless and helpless. A lot of people in their lives, and they're resorting to sometimes taking their own lives because they feel so helpless and hopeless. And so if you have a platform and a voice to just give someone an empowering word in perhaps one of the darkest moments of their lives, you can save someone's life. That's the power of what you've tapped into through this platform. And so again, I give kudos. I will never stop giving you kudos for boldly saying yes to this next chapter in your own journey and making it more about other people than just about yourself and sitting in a rocking chair and perhaps watching sunrises. So again, kudos to you. I love the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you so much. Like your words have actually struck a chord right through my heart, and I got shivers because those words are so energizing. I feel it, and it makes me so happy that we could be saving a life, and that would be so wonderful. I really admire that. And of course, leaving a legacy. We'll be still on Earth, even though we've left this planet in even centuries, because with technologies, it's just going to be recycled over and over again. And we can be changing future generations, which is just so invigorating for sure.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Your belief in the power of every message to create a shift in people's thoughts and perspectives is profound and perfectly aligns with O's goals for motivating and supporting women. So can you tell us about a time when your message had a significant impact on someone's life?
That's such a great question. I think every time I open my mouth and share a message, it's profound on someone's life. If I had to pinpoint it, I would probably go to a phone call I just had today with one of my clients, a coaching client, and she is stepping into her power as a woman and her power of her voice. And she's launching not only these women's initiatives to support ladies in technology So she's hosting her own events. She's doing these book anthologies, which is just an extension of your voice verbally. Now you're putting that in writing. And I challenged her during our session to just stop for a moment. And I said, do you remember the woman that you were just 9 months ago when we first started working together? I remembered it vividly because I remember how bashful she was and hesitant she was about calling herself an expert in the field of technology. But yet she has this powerful story of being a woman who literally started at the bottom in her career, as in she was like support desks, right? Support services in IT.
Unbelievable.
And she grew to be the chief technology officer of her organization. And
Wow,
to
that's
know
incredible.
that right? That's incredible.
Yeah,
To know that
unbelievable.
she was diminishing, though. She was diminishing her voice and how she could empower more women who wanted to come up in the rankings of technology, information technology, because she thought she needed more. She thought, oh, but my story isn't good enough. It isn't powerful enough. Well, who's going to want to hear what I have to say? And I'm like, lots of people, especially women in that field, which is a male dominated industry and a male dominated field. And so today it was beautiful to know. And she said, you know, it's because of you. And I wasn't stating that to her for her to state that back to me, but it was a beautiful affirmation, if you will, and confirmation of the impact that my voice has had on her over the past 9 months, for her now to be hosting her own live events, her own summit, doing her own, she's about to do her second book anthology project in 9 months.
Fantastic.
And
that is so good.
That's beautiful to be able to sit back and watch the transformation that's happening because you say yes to walking in your unique zone of brilliance. And all of us have it, right? And we don't have to compare it to anybody else's. I don't have to compare mine to yours. There are people that you are meant to impact with your voice, your expert knowledge. There are people I'm meant to impact. And now the people that we serve, they're people that they're meant to impact.
Exactly.
And none of us have the capacity to serve everyone on a planet with 7 billion people. So all of us need to step into our power. All of us need to share our voices. All of us need to share our story and really peel back the layers of who we are and how sometimes challenging life can be, but how we've pressed through those challenges, how we've experienced development and growth in our lives and in our businesses and careers, so that we become almost a little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel for someone else who is questioning if they can. Like, that's the power that all of us are sitting on, is that when we unveil our real, raw, authentic truth and the stuff that we've been through before we made it to where we are now, that it wasn't all, you know, smiles and roses, that there have been challenges, setbacks, obstacles. When we share that authentically, oh my goodness, there's so much power in how many people will follow that path, because we're setting the example and we're the model. So for me, I have countless stories similar to that of people who have come back and shared, wow, I remember when you told me I could a year ago, 5 years ago, and now look at what I'm doing and how I'm helping serve other people. And that's priceless. You can't put a price on that.
Oh, absolutely. It's so good to hear that message, right? Because what society sees is all the successes. Oh, I want to be like so-and-so. Oh, look at her, but I'll never be like that. But when you dig deep down, we all have our stories. We've had our obstacles. We've been slapped down to the ground. But you know what? We dusted ourselves up and we got going over and over again. We just didn't stop. We failed. Definitely, we failed many times. But those failures were life lessons. And these are the messages that young women need to hear, that there's no perfect journey. It's going to be hard. But the one good thing, there are so many wonderful women out there that will help you. There's resources, there's guidance. You're not alone. All you have to do is ask for help.
Yeah, that's so good. And let me throw in there, because sometimes when we're listening to, platforms like this and we're hearing successful people talk about their journey, it's like, yeah, you're saying that now because you're out of the mess, or you're past the obstacle. Right. So it never feels good when you're going through the failure. Let's just be clear. It never feels good when you're falling flat on your face and you're learning the life lessons. But if you can just stick with it, there's a quote that I live by: quitters never win and winners never quit. If you can just stick with it, you're going to be able to look back and see all the beautiful lessons, painful sometimes, but beautiful lessons that build character, that help you to grow and develop, and that allow you to be even that much more valuable to the people that you are called to serve. Because I always say this, if you ain't been through nothing, you can't teach me nothing.
That's
How
right.
can you teach me? How can you show me the way, right? How can you lead me on a path if you've never fallen flat on your face, if you don't have the bruises and the sores and the scrapes and cuts from your own journey, then really there is no level of relatability that we have with each other. So the relatability comes with, yeah, I know you see where I am right now, and this is my sexy chapter 13 of my journey, but let me tell you about chapters 1 through 12. They weren't so pretty and they beat me up pretty bad, but I made a decision. I made a decision to keep getting back up. Tony Robbins, motivational guru, says it best. He says a real decision is measured by the fact that you've taken a new action. And if there is no new action, then you have not truly decided. And so maybe the action today is get back up. If you're a person who's going through the pain, the challenge, the obstacle, the struggle right now, maybe the decision for today, as you're hearing our voices, is just a decision that I will not quit. I'm not throwing in the towel. I'm going to bounce back, and I'm going to keep pressing forward through this temporary challenge, this temporary difficult space that I'm in, because it's never permanent. It's just temporary, but it allows you to build up character and build up who you are and learn lessons that then you will be able to share with other people who are going to go through the same struggles and challenges that you've gone through today or are going through today.
Right. One of my favorite quotes is failure's final only when you quit.
Absolutely. Only when you quit, but it's always a choice. It's a choice if you quit.
That's right.
If you throw in the towel, or it's a choice to say, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I'll tell you something that one of my mentors shared with me is so profound. And he has a saying, he says, choose your hard. His name is Dr. George Fraser. Choose your hard. It is hard to press through challenges to get to your dream, the thing that you really, your purpose, your passion. That can be hard because you're going to fall flat on your face. You're going to have some mistakes, some failures, some obstacles.
Guaranteed.
But it's also hard. It's equally as hard to sit in a space stuck knowing that you are destined for more. So which one will you choose? They're both hard. So you get to choose your hard. And I'm going to choose my hard that's going to catapult me into a new space as long as I stick with it, instead of staying stuck and held hostage to mediocrity and hostage to, what could be or could have been if I had taken a risk, if I had gotten back up. I don't want to do that hard. I don't want to live a life that, I regret not taking the chances, not going for it, not getting back up. I would rather do the hard thing of, okay, this is tough. I didn't expect this setback. I didn't expect this roadblock, but I'm going to push my way through this and see what's on the other side. So choose your hard.
Well said. So throughout your career, you have been an advocate for female empowerment. What are some specific challenges you've observed that women face when stepping into leadership roles, and how can they overcome them?
Again, I'm going to go back to something that I mentioned earlier during our conversation. The first thing is fear. It's fear of whether or not I'm even enough. Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Can I do this? Am I adequate? Or should someone else get this opportunity? And I want to say, as women, we as leaders, we need to stop diminishing everything we bring to the table. It's so funny if you watch a woman leader and a male leader. A male leader will pat himself on the back for all of the things that he brings to the table. And then he'll say, okay, yep, I got this, this, and this. And maybe there are 4 pieces of the leadership role that he doesn't have, but he say, I'll learn it on the job. But a woman will discount herself and opt out of stepping into the leadership role because she doesn't have the 4 things and say, I'm not qualified. And we've got to stop disqualifying ourselves because of a few things that we still need to learn. Guess what? You can learn that on the job. You can learn that through the training and the experience that you're going to get by stepping into the leadership role. So get out of the space of fear of inadequacy. Really work on that. Work on not having a fear of believing that other people are going to judge you harshly because you don't know everything. I always teach my clients, anything that you do should always be a rule of excellence over perfection. You are never going to be perfect, and nobody else that you meet up with is ever going to be perfect, but you are still worthy. You are still qualified. You are still adequate. You are still enough, even with your flaws and your imperfections and the things that you don't know yet. In fact, that's what makes you powerful, is that you're willing to take the chance, take the risk, step into the leadership position, even without having all the answers. And some of the most powerful leaders will acknowledge to you that they never had all the answers, but what they did was they surrounded themselves with other people who were smarter than they were, so that they would have the answers. And I share that with my clients. I say, I may not know everything. In fact, I don't. Let me just clue you in. I don't have all the answers, but I am resourceful enough and I have enough connections in my network where I will get you the answer. And when you approach it that way, it really takes pressure off. So just really encouraging more women leaders to stop diminishing the value that you do bring. You could literally be robbing a community of how powerful you are and how much you're going to shift the trajectory of their life because you're discounting what you don't have instead of celebrating what you do have and what you do bring to the table. So let's just kind of try to work on taking that off the plate. Our fear of judgment from others, our fear of inadequacy, and that whole space of imposter syndrome. Oh, I'm not good enough because. No, make a list of why you are enough. Let's work on that. Let's shift our dialogue. If you shift and upgrade your internal dialogue, that also will be reflective in the risks that you're willing to take, in the roles that you're willing to accept, in the relationships that you're able to connect. Other people want to connect with people who are confident in themselves. And you can't display confidence if you're stuck in imposter syndrome mode. So just take it one step at a time, but work on it. Don't just leave it where it is.
Fabulous. So as a best-selling author, your books have inspired many people. Could you share the story behind one of your books and how it has resonated with your audience?
These are such great questions. Oh, I just adore you. I love the questions.
I'm glad you like them.
I really, really do. And
I had to really research you because you have a lot of accomplishments, and I don't know if one episode is enough. I might have to have you come back for a second or two.
Well, I love just the organic flow between us. Again, it says to me,
it's natural
alignment. Yes, absolutely. Wow. So I will probably say, you know what? I'm going to actually go back to my very first book. And it was called How I Flatlined and Woke Up in 45 Days. And the premise of that was I was in a space in my life where I wanted more. I wanted to feel like I was really contributing to other people's lives beyond my own life. I also wanted to be an example and a role model for my 3 children of what it looked like to be a bold woman who is courageous enough to get out into the world and to dare that the world notice her and pay attention to her gifts and to leave my fingerprint. But for so many years, I felt like I had flatlined in life because I was just stuck. Like I didn't feel like I had a real strong heartbeat as it related to living. I was existing in life. Why? Because I was doing what I was told to do. I was doing what I felt like was expected of me as a woman, a wife, and a mom, which was to go get a good job and stay at that job if possible until you retire, right? Like don't rock the boat.
Hey, but like me,
right?
Same like story
you shared. Yeah,
for sure.
But there was a craving inside of me, and it was literally like it was screaming out, Cheryl, you are born for so much more than this. And it used to just eat away at me every day that I would go and I would sit at that 10 by 10 cubicle where I was working as a legal secretary. I just felt like a little piece of me was just dwindling away every single day because I wouldn't take the risk to do something that was unfamiliar, to do something that was uncomfortable, to do something that would challenge me, to learn more about me, to take big risks, to get outside of my comfort zone. And so I wrote that book as a result of feeling like I had literally flatlined in life and I wanted to reclaim my heartbeat. And the only way I was going to be able to do that was by fueling myself with affirmative words of who I am, affirmative words of what I can accomplish, affirmative words that, yes, I am enough. It doesn't matter where I've come from. It doesn't matter about my background. It doesn't matter that I was born into poverty. It doesn't matter that I didn't have a degree that said I was good enough or smart enough, didn't have letters behind my name. No one gets to define who I can become except me. And that book really was birthed out of the pain that I felt from staying stuck and held hostage to mediocrity and an existence instead of living. But using affirmative words, pouring back into myself, creating these mantras, breathe life back into me,
Right.
so that I could get that heartbeat that would be so strong that nothing would stop me from pursuing what was next, what was the next best, greatest version of Cheryl.
Oh, such a powerful message, and it resonates with me as well because, like I said, growing up in the city and being poor and not having anything like the other kids, right? And then, of course, you're going to be the one that's going to be picked on, and being punched and being kicked, and kids would call you names. And you know what? I just held my course. I focused. My parents showed me the way. They gave me the powerful message because they, as I mentioned earlier, were abused in the fact that they would work, say, 50 hours, but were paid 40. If they were always paid half the wages of everybody else, however, they acquired skills and they got better. And then they learned the English language and they were able to articulate. So my parents went from working poor to upper middle class, which is a phenomenal achievement. And that proved in my own eyes, just like you said, that the power lies within me. All I have to do is find that voice and be able to get out there and try things. Yeah, I'm going to fail. I'm going to look stupid or, silly, but you know what? I can't give up because I will get there eventually, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes. And the way that you're recalling your parents' story,
Right.
isn't that profound? Like
Yeah.
people remember and repeat stories,
Right.
not bullet points, not talking points that we try.
No.
People remember and repeat stories. And you're able to recall your parents' story of perseverance, of determination, of courage, of persistence, of discipline. You're
Right.
able to recall that to mind. And undoubtedly, it's impacted you because you're still sharing the story.
Yes.
But guess what? You have the same ability where people will call to mind your story.
Right.
It will become the motivating force for them to get back up, for them to see what you press through and say, if she can, oh my God, you know what? I think I can too. So that was such a great example of recalling to our minds people's stories, and thus why it's so important that each of us share our stories, because we never know who we're inspiring. Sometimes you'll never meet people, you'll never hear from them, but I promise you, there's no way that you can keep sharing your story consistently and keep showing up and be a model of what's possible and it not impact lives globally. It just doesn't happen that way.
That's right. And, just passing that torch on to me did light a huge fire where my dad he was a big hockey fan. And, every time, the cup was raised and he goes, wow, I'd really love to, be able to hold that cup and maybe drink from it and, have a few pictures from it. And so just before my dad died, I managed to secure the Stanley Cup for my dad in a private viewing where he actually was photographed with it and he had it and he was able to drink from the cup of champions. So this is a story that I want our listeners, our community hear, that things can happen. You just have to dream big and you got to work hard. And like you said, discipline, you have to be persistent and you just get through life, stay focused because those things will happen.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. What a beautiful story.
Well,
thank you for sharing that.
So you've written a library of books. Okay. I'm slowly starting to get them because I like the actual tangible item. I don't want to have it as an ebook or anything. So they're slowly coming in. But as for my listeners, which of your books would be ideal to read first?
Oh man, I think it depends on where you are in your journey. So some of my books are solo book projects, but I also have a host of books that are book anthology projects. And a book anthology project is where I spearhead a project but I allow other women to share their stories in the book.
Oh, nice.
So I have probably 14 of my projects are book anthology projects where you get to hear the stories of women from all across the world. So I have a series called Women Inspiring Nations. And each volume, there are 4 volumes so far. Some of them are about resilience and getting back up. Some of them are about claiming your power. I have a new book project, 2 new book projects that I just launched in the past couple months. One is called Women Who Prosper. Your time to flourish is now. And the second one was Get in the Game. It's stop being a spectator and execute your brilliance. So it really depends on where you are in your journey. But there, I have literally a host of books. If you go onto Amazon and you look up Cheryl Wood or Dr. Cheryl Wood, then you'll be able to see kind of what you feel will fill your cup right now. We all are at different spaces in our journey. You could get any of my books and none of them are, oh, I have to read it sequentially in this order. Any of them and all of them are going to fill your cup, but you get to choose what you need to fill that cup right now. I have a book that's called Success Tips for Speakers. For those of you who perhaps are leaders or professionals and entrepreneurs who really want to get your footing in terms of sharing your voice on more platforms, that's a great book because it gives you implementable things that you can do to start sharing your voice more consistently. And it shares strategies on how you can be unforgettable when you're taking any platform, whether it's a virtual platform, a podcast, a television interview. It doesn't matter if you're speaking for a big conference or if you're presenting to a boardroom of 10 people.
Right.
It really does give you implementable strategies. And then I would say the book anthologies are more story-based. So it's really, you get to see the world from different people's viewpoint and their eyes and how they got back up and struggles they pressed through. But one of the things that really makes my book projects different is that even in the anthologies where people are sharing their stories, the other women are sharing their stories, they also are sharing takeaways for you. And so every chapter is going to have strategies that you can implement if you're someone who's struggling with that particular challenge that the woman is speaking of. So you get to decide where you want to play and what's going to fill your cup based on the season that you're in your life, your journey, and your leadership right now.
Okay, fantastic advice. So you've had a successful career as an entrepreneur. What lessons have you learned from your own experiences that you believe are crucial for aspiring female entrepreneurs to know?
Oh, so many lessons. I'm going to pick probably the biggest one for me is valuing your worth. And
Yes.
for so many years, I struggled with charging what I was worth and sticking to it because I really didn't value what I brought to the table. And that stemmed from, a background of poverty and some of the money conversations I had based on what I saw growing up as a young child and seeing my mother kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. And I was stuck in money struggle for a long time, a money struggle mindset for a very long time, not realizing that I could shift and create an abundance mindset and that anything I wanted, I could have. But I had to change how I thought about it. I had to shift how I felt about money, what I believed about money, the conversations I was having about money, and knowing that I brought so much value to the table that, yes, I was worth charging whatever that number was, whether it was for coaching clients or whether it was for speaking on someone's stage. That took me a really, really long time to get through that. And that's just been through doing the work. And doing the work means catching myself when I'm having toxic conversation with myself about who I am, what I bring to the table, what I'm worth, knowing that I'm enough. It doesn't matter that somebody else has more letters behind their name. That does not equate to my worth. So it was doing the work to get into a new space and develop a growth mindset that would allow me to ultimately get to this place where I've been able to build a 7-figure empire from a girl who grew up in poverty and who was on government assistance for all of my young childhood. So mindset has been really a really huge part of me being able to grow out of lack and scarcity mindset into abundance and growth mindset.
You know, that is excellent advice. And I agree wholeheartedly because I do offer business coaching courses and personal development. And that's one of the keys is changing your mindset because, yeah, even though you have your heart and soul is into, starting a new career or opening up a business, if you can't change your thinking up here, oh boy, you're not going to last very long. And it's so important that you see yourself in a positive image, that you like you said, you have having trouble with money, right? And now that you picture yourself in abundance,
Yes.
I'm sure you're not having that issue any longer.
No, and it's interesting that every once in a while that negative toxic conversation will try to creep up, but I shut it down immediately. I'm like, no, you can't come with me to this
Right.
next season of my journey. You don't even get to hang out with me anymore. Like, so it's not that it doesn't try to creep up and
Yeah.
come back in and
Right.
try to really define who you are and who you can become. But you've got to be willing to unplug or disconnect from any toxic conversation that minimizes who you are and the impact that you're making in the world and the value that you bring to other people's lives. Unplug that conversation. But here's the important part. Once you unplug from that toxic conversation that tries to creep up, you got to plug into something else. So
Right.
what are you plugging into? It's not just unplug. It's okay. Now, where am I going to plug this into? I got to find, if I have my cell phone and I want to keep it charged up and I unplug from one socket, I got to plug it into another socket to get
That's
that
right.
energy. So what spaces are you plugging into? O is one of them. So you want to plug into this space,
Yes.
this great, amazing, positive energy and conversation as often as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's one way of changing the narrative. But I know people they'll take a little journal, and every day they'll say maybe 5 things that show that positive images of themselves, how they see themselves, and kind of like thinking, yes, I am successful. Yes, I can get that promotion. All those good vibes. Your
Mm.
body has to sense them. It starts in the mind and it goes right to your body and your soul.
Yeah, vision boards, like you mentioned,
Exactly.
journaling, affirmations, looking in your mirror and stating those
Right.
affirmations as you're looking to yourself. Meditation is great. Like anything that's going to, again, fill your cup with positive, reassuring, confirming words is what's going to really fuel you because that's the way the subconscious mind works. The more you tell it something, the more it believes it. So if
Right.
you're telling yourself negative, toxic things, it's never going to happen for me. I'm not good enough. They're not going to choose me, whatever the negative, toxic word, that's what you're going to believe. And that's how
Right.
you're going to function. Your actions are going to become in alignment with those words. But if you replace that with those positive, reassuring, reaffirming words, then ultimately you're going to start to believe, okay, maybe I can do this thing. And you stand up
Exactly.
a little bit taller and you take a little bit, greater risks. And before you know it, you're getting better results, bigger results, because you're taking those bigger risks because you fuel yourself with the positive.
Exactly. Well said. So the ability to captivate an audience is a valuable skill. So what tips can you offer to women looking to improve their public speaking presence and leave a lasting impression?
Monitor what you say and how you express it from the moment you're given a platform. So, the 3 things that I know people are automatically looking for in relation to how you present is number 1, are you confident? Number 2, are you competent? And number 3, are you credible? So, your everything about your demeanor, your posture, the words that you say, how you say them, the tonality of it, the vocal variety that you use must say, I'm confident that I belong here
Right.
as an expert speaking to you, sharing my story. So all that shy part of you, leave her home. Leave her home whenever you have an opportunity to share your voice. You can go back and get her later, but for now, that's not the space. You want to come confident and assured that you belong at the front of the room or that you belong to be there in the space being interviewed on the podcast or whatever the
Right.
platform is. So that's the confidence. And then competence. Make sure that whatever you're sharing and speaking about, that you actually know what you're talking about. You have firsthand experience. I encourage my clients, teach only what you know, not
Right.
what you heard someone else say and you're
Mm-hmm.
repeating it or even read it in a book and you're hoping that it works. No, I want to make sure that what I'm sharing from a space of truth and authenticity and vulnerability because I've been there, done that. And then
Right.
the third part is credibility, knowing that whatever you're sharing it is actually a viable solution that other people can implement. And how do you know it's viable? How do you know that it actually will serve them and support them well? Because you've implemented it. And because you've perhaps shared that formula or that strategy or that system with other people, and they've also gotten great results from implementing it. So you want to make sure that whatever you're presenting, it's a credible, viable solution to a pain that people are in or a desire that they want to fill. And that's why most of us are coming in with sharing our voices, because we want people to know that there is a solution and there's an option on the other side of something that you're currently experiencing.
Right. So one of the focuses of O is to help women into their potential and overcome any obstacles in their fields. The work you've done and continue to do both spans both corporate and entrepreneurial settings. What unique challenges do you see women facing in each of these domains, and how can they leverage their strengths in these environments?
Okay, I'm just going to be very, very truthful. Sometimes I find that women are so afraid that there's not enough for all of us that we don't lift as much as we could. So there's a quote that I live by, that we always lift as we climb. And that means you're never going to any next level, right? You're never going to any mountaintop on your own. I don't want to get to the top of the speaker game by myself. I want to bring some women with me. Like, come on, guys, I got here and I'm closer. So come with me. And that means I share resources with you. That means I'm not stingy with what I know. If you ask me a question or you need support, or you're like, well, how did you do that? That I'm not holding it close to my chest because I'm afraid that you're going to get to the mountaintop quicker than me. No, my hope is, well, if you happen to get to the mountaintop quicker than me, that's great, because now you can lift me. So when it is reciprocal and we create that as an expectation amongst women leaders, whether in the professional space or entrepreneurial space, that we always lift as we climb, then we don't have to worry about someone else getting there first. We're not consumed with someone's light shining brighter than ours. Instead, we lift each other up by sharing what we know, by opening doors of opportunity for each other so that we can all win. We really are better and stronger together than in our own individual silos, not sharing with each other what we know.
100% there. So your focus on storytelling is essential for impactful communication. How do you guide women in crafting compelling narratives that inspire and resonate with their listeners?
Really understanding that storytelling is about touching people's hearts, right? Or as we will hear it often said, pulling at people's heartstrings. Because there's one thing to give content and information. There's one thing to give statistics and figures and data, which is important because people learn differently, right? Like people have different styles of learning, and some people are very analytical, so they need those numbers, the data, the stats. But at its core, regardless of what you're talking about, regardless of what message you're sharing, people want to feel a heart-to-heart connection, even beyond a head-to-head connection. And that requires that pulling your story. But also the storytelling, it shares with people and shows people, why are you so passionate about what you're speaking about? Why does it even matter to you? Because I could be talking about any topic in the world, but I chose this topic for a reason. And most times it's because there's some experience that I have with this topic. There's some pain I pushed through that I got to the other side. And now I want everybody to know. It's almost like if you have a cure for some ailment. And if you had a cure, I would assume that you would want to tell as many people as possible about the cure. Hey, here's how you press through. Here's how you overcome this obstacle or this ailment or this diagnosis. Well, it's the same with our stories. Our stories start to become the cure for pain that people are stuck in because we've been there, done that. We know what the experience is like. We can tell you what potholes to avoid, or we can tell you how to get back up from something that knocked you down, all through the power of storytelling. And stories is how, to the end of time, how people relate important information. When I see my husband at the end of a day, the first thing I say was, babe, how was your day? And you know what he starts to tell me? A story. He'll say, oh, today my supervisor, he came in hot and heavy. He was on a mission. Or if I ask my kids, I have 3 teenagers, and I ask them at the end of the day, how was your day? Miss such and such teacher, she was not nice today. She made us do a special report that we didn't expect. And they're telling me stories. So that's how we make human connection. That's how we pass down information. That's how people remember information. And most importantly, that's how we connect to other people's hearts. So storytelling, it has to be, it's mandatory that it's a part of any messaging that you deliver. It's not optional.
Right. Great advice. So your dedication to empowering women, absolutely inspiring. So how do you recharge and stay motivated amidst the demands of your work?
Well, I just got back from an amazing 8-day vacation in Costa Rica, which was wonderful. And it's so fun.
Vacation's always good.
Oh my goodness. It really does re-energize you. But I kept wondering why do I keep hearing myself saying that this was the best vacation I've ever had? Right. I kept saying that. And I'm like, oh, it hit me because I unplugged.
Yes.
Unplugged. I have never done that before, Rosemary. I've never unplugged. I always take my laptop. I end up doing a little bit of work. I end up sending a few emails or working on a proposal that I said I wasn't going to. And what I realized this time was that really does dishonor my commitment to my husband and my kids. Because I've got to show them that they are equally as much of a priority in my life as my business is. And I'm always going to be hustling and grinding for the business. I'm always going to be out sharing my voice until I don't have life and breath in my body anymore. But it's important that my family have a carved out time where they know I'm yours. Mm-hmm. Not just in body, but my mind is here and my energy is here. And I'm not thinking about something else. I'm not thinking about business. I'm focused on our quality time together. And so it was one of the best vacations and opportunities to unplug and re-energize and rejuvenate that I've had in a long time. And I've decided I'm going to do that every vacation. I'm going to rely on my team. Like, why do you have a team if you're not going to rely on the team?
Exactly.
So all of us should work to build a team of trusted support and advisors who can allow us to be able to get away and unplug. Now, beyond vacation, because we can't take vacation every month.
That's so true.
We take vacation once or twice a year.
It'd be nice.
But outside of that, I typically I manage my calendar very, very strategically. So for instance, I know there are certain days of the week where I have a full schedule. Today is one of those days. I'm going to be literally speaking, coaching on podcast interviews from 9:00 this morning till 9:00 tonight.
Wow. What a big day.
Tomorrow I schedule my calendar where I block it, where I don't do any talking. It's everything that I'm doing is in preparation for my conference that's coming up, or it's things that I can do behind the scenes, and I don't have to exude that same energy, that pouring that you give when you're speaking verbally. It's very different than when I'm kind of doing paperwork and proposals and things like that behind the scenes. So I'm very, very strategic with how I map out my schedule and my calendar for the week. And then typically on Sundays, it's kind of my rejuvenation and family time. So I don't typically accept speaking engagements on Sundays. I don't schedule any specific activity on Sundays unless it's personal. And that gives me time for myself. It gives me time to sleep in a little bit late, which I don't get to do very often. And it gives me an opportunity to just be. So I don't have to be on. I don't have to be on, doing something, serving, pouring. I just get to be and do whatever fills my cup personally for that day.
Nice. Yeah, I long ago, I decided to set boundaries where I was available only certain times of the day. And I'm a mother of 4 adult children. Mm-hmm. So, they need you at different stages of their life. And it's really important that you plug into your family because, you know what? They need the guidance and they need the support from a mother and from family members. And that's so important that you do take the time out for that. And you shared your wisdom because there's a lot of people that can't say no. Oh, but one more client, one more podcast, one more interview. And then all of a sudden, especially if you got little ones and they go to bed early, you miss that opportunity. You can't regain it the next day. It's gone.
Yes. That being in the moment, living in the moment, valuing everything for, and giving priority to the things that really are real priority in your life. So important that we carve out space for both our professional growth and development, our businesses thriving. But, I don't want to be, as I say, a public success, but a private failure.
Right.
So we can look very successful publicly, we can be making great money, we can serve clients and look, we're smiling on stages and platforms, but at home, if that's in shambles, do you really call that success? So I just try to keep my priorities as priority. And for me, it's God, family, and then everything else.
I agree on that one for sure. So as you continue to empower women worldwide, what is your vision for the future of female entrepreneurship and female-led movements for change?
Wow. I would hope that more women would join us, would just jump on the bandwagon of unleashing and amplifying their voices. First of all, tapping into and understanding the power that's contained in their voice and not running and hiding from the things that they've been through, as though there's some shame in your past experiences or where you've come from, but really acknowledging that there's power in every part of you, every experience that you've been through, the unexpected, the ugly, messy parts. Like there's power in all of those pieces. So I would hope that, as women entrepreneurs and leaders and professionals, that we would open up and expand ourselves in such a massive way that there's no woman left behind as it relates to sharing her story and her voice, that none of us take the best parts of ourselves to our graves because we don't know. Tomorrow's not promised for any of us. And so I want to see more women step into that role of sharing their voice powerfully, not from a space of feeling like it diminishes them because they've been through certain challenges in life, but understanding that they get to stand on their story, not just in their story. That's what you've been through. That's who you were. But let's talk about how you press through and how that can inspire more. So I just would love to see that become a global movement where more girls and more women are jumping on that bandwagon to say, my voice is more powerful than I've been acknowledging, and I will not be quiet. I will not stay silent because I know someone else's transformation is dependent upon me speaking up.
And we're doing that right now on this podcast. Thank you so much, Dr. Cheryl, for your time and valuable insights. Your journey embodies a spirit of, the empowerment that O stands for. For our listeners who want to connect and learn more about you, or if they like to purchase your books, where can they go?
Yes, so you can connect with me all across social media at Cheryl Empowers on all of the social media platforms. I'm on LinkedIn. I hang out on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, like anywhere social media you can find at Cheryl Empowers. And also my website is CherylEmpowers.com. So I would love to stay connected and continue this connection, continue growing our relationship currency. It's so important. None of us are a silo on all of it ourselves. So I want to touch as many lives as possible, but I also want to hear your story and I want to get to know you. So I look forward to you connecting with me beyond even hearing this podcast.
Wonderful. So everyone keep in touch. The Only Women Entrepreneurs is dedicated to empowering women on their entrepreneurial and alternative career journeys. To learn more about us and what you do, visit our website, onlywomenentrepreneurs.com, for resources tailored specifically for women navigating the business world. Here you can also find my personal development and business courses to help you on your journey. Whether you're starting a business or you want to simply upgrade your life, I can be your guide. Book your free consultation today. Also be sure to follow us on social media at Only Women Entrepreneurs to tap into a growing community of strong women redefining themselves to be better than ever before. Wherever you are in your life, O is here to support you every step of the way. Thanks so much, and don't forget to hit the subscribe so you don't miss out on our next episode. Thank you so much.